identifying linear pairs and vertical angles. So for the figure below, given the following: one pair of vertical angles, B, one pair of angles that form a linear pair, and C, one pair of angles that are congruent. So they want you to identify, and they're going to have you actually type in angle 2 and angle 4, angle 4 and angle 3. So they'll have you type it in, and we'll get to see exactly how to type that in on the next page. But for now, what I want to do is I want to write some notes up here, just so that we know vertical angles are, and I'm going to write the symbol for congruent. So this is what vertical angles look like. So when you have anything that crosses like this, a vertical angle is the ones that are across from each other. And do they have to be vertical like this? So meaning straight up and down? No. Vertical angles can also be these two. So the main thing is you're going to cross the vertex here to get to them. So you can go across the vertex from side to side. You can go from top to bottom. So it's actually vertical. It's just a name. Vertical angles don't mean they have to be vertical. But vertical angles are always congruent. So once you identify vertical angles, you will also know which ones to say are congruent. Because part 1, we have to identify vertical angles, and then part C, we have to identify congruent ones. Those can actually be the exact same answer. There's no reason they have to be different. So a linear pair means linear pair are angles on the same line. So if I go through here and go like this, and then I draw an angle or another ray that's coming up here, so it's starting in the middle of the line going up here, angle 1 and 2, and I'm just giving it some names here. So if angle 1 and 2 are a linear pair because they are on a line together. So that's all linear pair means, just two angles that are on a line together. So if we go down here, we see that they've put angle 2 and 4 for vertical angles. So this is, if we look at these two lines, they're crossing, and they went across the vertex here to get to 2 and 4. And then they went 3 and 4 and 3 for a linear pair. So 4 and 3, they're on one line together. So we could have done 1 and 4, we could have done 1 and 2, 2 and 3. There's a ton of options for all of these answers. Even for vertical, we could have gone 3 and 1. We could have jumped over here and gone 6 and 8 or 7 and 5. There are a lot of answers for this one problem. And then one pair of angles that are congruent. So whichever ones you identify as vertical angles, just put that exact same answer for congruent because vertical angles are congruent. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so one pair of vertical angles. Again, there is a lot of options here. So if I'm looking at this one, I can go 1 and 6. I could go 2 to 5, 4 to 7, or 3 to 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with the first ones I said, 1 and 6. So 1 and 6. And because I know vertical angles are congruent, I'm going to come down here to one pair of angles that are congruent, and I'm going to write 1 and 6. Do they have to match? No. I could write any of the other ones that I wanted. I could write 3 and 8 here, or 4 and 7, because I know that any one of those pairs of vertical angles are congruent. Linear pair. So there's also a lot of answers on this one. So I can look at any line. So let's first look across the top here. I can go 1 and 5. They are on a line together. Now if I look at the bottom of the line, I have 2 and 6. Now if I go sideways, I have 1 and 2, or 5 and 6 on the other side here. Now I can go 3 and 4, 7 and 8, or I could go 3 and 7, or 4 and 8. So there are a ton of options. I'm just going to go with 1 and 5, which is the top there. I'm going to click check. Yay! All right, so for the next one, I'm not going to go through and explain each and every one that's possible, but we know vertical angles means we're going to go across. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 2 and 4 like they did in that first example. Ooh, they switched my order here. I almost put that in the wrong spot. So vertical angles is actually part B here. So make sure you're paying attention where they want you to put it. Because part A is actually the linear pair. So I'm just going to go with this first one that I come across, which is 2 and 3, because they're both on this line together. And then supplementary angles. And we practiced this one in a different one. So supplementary, sorry, angles add up to 180 degrees, which actually go right back to linear pair. So it's very similar to asking you a linear pair. If they are on a line together, then they add up to 180 degrees. So in this one, we can actually use the same 2 that we used for linear pair. 2 and 3 have to be supplementary, meaning they have to add up to 180 degrees. All right, one more. We have, all right, one pair of angles that form a linear pair. So they're doing linear pair again first. So we have 1 and 2. I'm just going across the top. Again, I could go 1 and 2. I could go 3 and 4 for the bottom. I could go sideways, and I could go 1 and 4, or 2 and 3. I could jump down here and do the same thing with all of these angles. So let's jump down, since we haven't done the bottom at all, and I'm going to go 8 and 7. So I'm just going across the bottom here. 8 and 7. Vertical angles. So we keep focusing on this one on top. I'm going to go down here and do this one. So I'm going to go 5 and 7. Remember, all we're doing is having to go across the kind of X that's created. I know that they are vertical angles. And then it's asking me for supplementary angles. So remember, supplementary means they add to 180. It's also the same thing as a linear pair. As a linear pair, since a line has to add up to 180 degrees, if angles are a linear pair, then they add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to pick a different one just to show you don't have to use the same thing that you put for linear pair. So I'm actually going to go up here and go 1 and 2. So I'm going to click check. And it still gave it to me even though I picked a different one. So you can pick any combination as long as it meets the rules. All right.